Attending the regular Kenton City School District Board of Education meeting tonight, October 17th, 2022. Time is 7. Let's go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Hensel?
Here.
Mrs. Heidinger?
Yes.
Mr. Ludley?
Here.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Flag's over to your right, our left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, approval and correction of the minutes from our regular board meeting that was held on September 19th, 2022. Could I have a motion to accept that, please?
Hensel.
Hensel, thank you. A second?
Heidinger.
Thank you, Mrs. Heidinger. And then any discussion? Anybody noticing? I think it looked all good when I looked at it. Any corrections? Okay. With nothing being said, let's go ahead and have a vote.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Hensel?
Yes.
Mrs. Heidinger?
Yes.
Mr. Ludley?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes. Okay, item 7, principal, supervisor, and faculty report, student showcase. First on the agenda is Mr. Jones. Floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. When Mr. Thrush asked us to present at the board meeting, I signed up for October, but it feels like November, December, January out there right now, so it's a little chilly. I just wanted to give a quick recap of the school year so far before I present or ask Master Sergeant Clifford to come up here. It's been a great start to the school year. I can say that. Kids seem excited. They're ready to be back. We're continuing to emphasize a vision that is an extension of our KCS blueprint, which is building positive relationships for our kids, striving for excellence, and always nurturing a power for growth. So in everything we do. So we're trying to emphasize that as much as we can with our kids in those 3 aspects. That being said, it is hard to believe that we're approaching the end of 9 weeks already next week. But I do want to take some time to highlight some of our successes so far this year. This Wednesday night is our academic awards night, where we recognize our students based on their 2021-2022 GPA. Students will receive either an academic letter or a pin. The requirements for that is freshmen have to have a 3.8 GPA, sophomores 3.7, and juniors 3.6. So this Wednesday night, we're going to have a total of 102 students who are going to earn either an academic award of some sort. 57 students will receive a letter for the first time, 31 will get a second-year award, and 14 a third-year award. So they've met that either 3 out of the 3 years, basically, that they've been in high school. So academically, a lot of kids doing great things and meeting our academic expectations. As you know, the fall sports season's coming to an end, and I think we've had an overall successful fall sports season. So I do want to highlight some of our sports teams and our athletes. You may be well aware that the girls cross country team this past Saturday finished 4th in the WBL meet, so they finished 4th in the league this year. That does tie the best finish they've had in school history of 4th. So continuing to make strides. We are a young team. So that's a positive moving forward with our girls cross country team and our cross country team as a whole. We also had a couple students, Addie Mans and Leah Harder, who finished in the top 10 and received all league honors as well during that race. And they will compete this Saturday in the district cross country meet in Columbus Grove. So congrats to them. Our girls volleyball team finished with 11-10 record, first winning season in 15 years. So again, continued progress with our girls volleyball team. Boys soccer, as you know, finished 2nd in the league this year with 13-3-1 overall record. They will host the sectional final this Thursday night. I wanted to mention that Connor Deffenbaugh set the single season scoring record the other night as well. So, and lastly, the girls soccer team finished with a winning record as well, and they'll compete tomorrow night in the sectional final as well. So again, as you can see, a lot of good things happening academically and athletically, and here you'll see in a second some other aspects of school and what all goes on at the high school. A lot of things go on. I've realized that being principal, that there are so many things that we offer our students that they can be involved in. So with that being said, before I introduce Master Sergeant Clifford, did the board have any questions with what I presented? Okay, awesome. And again, before I do want to say one note that the program that he's going to talk about here shortly is something that is extremely valuable for our kids. And as far as if I have anything to do with it, I guess I would never want the program to go anywhere. There's so many kids that use it to be a part of something and to feel like something they can accomplish and shoot for. So with that being said, I do want to introduce Master Sergeant Clifford, and he will introduce our two guests.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, board, for giving me the opportunity to highlight some of our students. So I'm only going to take a few minutes. I really want the time to go to a couple of cadets that I brought in tonight. I just want to highlight a few quick things. First of all, the mission statement of Junior ROTC. A lot of people have a misunderstanding about Army Junior ROTC or any of these Junior ROTC programs around the state or around the country. They think that it's just a recruitment program for the military, and that's not it. If you read our mission statement, we put right over the door to our classrooms to motivate young people to be better citizens. The lessons that we talk about, the things that they learn in our program, doesn't matter if they're going to go in the military, go to higher education, go into a trade, just go straight into the workforce. Whatever they do, the lessons they learn in JRTC will serve them well moving forward in life in general. As far as our enrollment, I just want to touch on that real quick. It's the highest. This year, our enrollment starting out is the highest it's been since 2016 when Colonel Guerrero left. We had a couple of lean years there. Of course, COVID kind of hit everybody hard. But we're back strong, and I think a big part of that is Mr. Brock asked me last year to go over to the middle school and teach a leadership class, just kind of a little intro, just kind of planting the seed, if you will, and try to take some of those high school expectations down to middle school. And I think we're really seeing some great dividends. Not only do we have a higher number of freshmen taking our course this year than we've had in the past, but the caliber of students that we have across the board I'm seeing is really outstanding, and I appreciate that. In addition, I had both a junior and two sophomores and a junior take the program starting this year. Just from what they saw last year, they kind of regretted not having joined. We said, hey, come on in. So even though they're in our first year class, we do have two sophomores and a junior in the program. We do have some additional, exciting additions to our teams this year, our extracurriculars that we do. We've had rifle drill and color guard for the last 18 years that I've been here. It's my 15th year. For the first time since 2007, we also have a Raider team, and our Raider team is not just kind of coming in once or twice and doing some practice here and there, or just going to a few orienteering meets they've gone to. They're actually doing Raider competitions. One rope bridge, obstacle courses, physical activities, kind of getting out in the woods and doing that physical activity and team building is the main thing of Raiders. And I'm going to have a short video here in a few moments that'll highlight some of that. So before I do introduce my cadets, I've got two videos real quick. They're about, the first one's I think a little over 2 minutes, second one's about a minute. Mr. Collins, if you would, please. And this is a video of our Raider training going on that we've started up this year. All right, so briefly, again, before I bring these cadets up, in the first video, you saw a number of different things that were done over the summer. First thing was summer staff training, which was done up at Fort Custer, Michigan. We did that along with the Detroit area schools. They went up to Fort Custer, which is northern Michigan. I forget where. It's in the, not in the Upper Peninsula, but anyway, 4 hours away, I think it was. Working at the Dayton Air Show is a great opportunity for our kids. It's to get out, do some involvement with outside organizations. It's also a great fundraiser for them. Junior Cadet Leadership Challenge, which is our summer camp. I think Sadie will talk a little bit about that, and you saw her in a number of the videos there. She was very involved in that. The Memorial Day Parade and putting flags on graves. So every year, we go out, we make sure that every veteran's grave over at the Grove Cemetery has a flag placed on it. We've been doing that with the local Veteran Service Office here in town since long before I was here, so we've been doing that for a long time. And last but not least, the last one on there was some paintball that they did, not as a part of tactics training, but that was just something that when they did their junior-senior trip last year, they had a little extra time, and they said, hey, what else do we want to do? And they just wanted to go do that as kind of a team building, just kind of have fun. So they went and they paintballed for an afternoon. So that was just some of what was in there. Without anything else, the two cadets I have here, I think our first one up is going to be Patrick Canode. Patrick's our current battalion commander. He is enrolled in the CBI program at the high school. He works at Walmart about 30 hours a week. He's also on our Raider and drill team and a member of the Ohio Army National Guard that completed basic training this last summer. So he'll come up first. And following him will be Cadet Sadie Larrabee. Sadie is our S5, which is our public affairs officer. She is super involved in a number of things. She's in band, she's in volleyball, basketball, and track. Got varsity letters in all three last year, if I'm correct, as a freshman. She is also on our drill team, our Raider team, and our color guard team, and has done a fantastic job in all those. So Patrick, first up, thank you.
So, as Master Sergeant Clifford said, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Canode. When I lived in Utah for about 4 years, and then didn't meet, but I joined Air Force JHC. I realized that really wasn't for me. Then I moved back to Kenton, my hometown, and I was lucky enough that they still had a JHC. So I've always wanted to enlist. It wasn't like JHC pressured me, like you said. So I joined JHC because I wanted to feel at least a little taste of what it'd be like for enlistment. Having that responsibility of wearing a uniform once a week, sometimes more, marching in a parade. So I decided to join. With that, it's helped me get a form of responsibility I don't think I would have ever had without it. As he said, I work about 30 hours a week. Then with that, I also juggle helping around with the Corps where I can. I believe next weekend we're doing a haunted house for a service learning project, where we will be giving cadets a chance to be scares, and any profit we make we will be putting in as a donation to help with charities. some of my favorite experiences throughout the years is our drill meets. When I first joined, we had 11 cadets and didn't get to do drill that year. Then my second year, which was last year, we had enough to do drill. We went to competitions, and we all had fun. We hosted one. We faced our rivals, Springfield, and then at the final drill meets I was able to go to, we fought. How many national champions was it? Like 3. And we beat our rivals, Springfield and Color Guard, which we wanted to beat them in at least something throughout every year. Then with the Raiders, I sadly didn't join right away this year, but I was able to join in by the second Raiders meet, and that was just 2 weeks ago, and it was one of the best experiences I could have had. It kind of, you do stuff you could do in the military, but you still have an aspect of fun with it. When you're competing, you're just there to have fun. It's not like, oh, if I lose this, I'm going to go do push-ups for the rest of the night. I should know I did that. Some goals I've had throughout the years. When I first joined JHC, I was told about staff. So my first year, I was like, I want to get a staff position. I don't care which one, I just want to be on staff. I reached that goal, and then once you reach one goal, you always have to set higher ones. So by the end of my junior year, I wanted to be XO or BC. I worked, and Colonel Master Sergeant saw something and allowed me to be BC of the cadets this year. With how many we have already, I hope to double that by next year. And with what we have going right now, it's adding a new sense of responsibility that the cadets probably didn't expect. But we're making changes as we go along, as each program does. And in November, we'll have a dining in where cadets will it's just for pure camaraderie. We go, let levels, this is where grades come in. They get to tell lower lets what to do, so let 4s get to tell let 3s, 2s, and 1s what to do. But it's also just there for fun. That helps. Let 4s can get grogged, as we call it. No one's safe. If they find something wrong, on me even, I have to go up there and do whatever I'm told. With goals, along with JHC, it helps with ROTC. With me being enlisted, I want to go into college and do the ROTC program, which will never help me become a lieutenant. But with everything going on in the Corps, Colonel and Master Sergeant are probably one of the best teachers I could have had. When enlisting, I've had questions about it my entire life. I've wanted to, but I talk to them about it every step of the way, and they help make it easier. They don't say, hey, you have to enlist, but they guide you if you decide. That's all I really have to say, so I'll pass the time on to State Larry.
Hi, I'm sophomore cadet Sadie Larrabee, and as Master Sergeant said, I'm very involved in many things that the school has to offer. I'm a 3-sport athlete, and I also am in Raiders and Color Guard and Drill, which go hand in hand. I really, really enjoy JROTC. My dad kind of pressured me into doing it my freshman year, but I will never regret signing up for it because I was handling that and FFA, and it was really in between FFA and JROTC. But throughout the year, JROTC kind of grew on me, and all the people in JROTC, they make me more social and a better, well-rounded person. Because being in sports, you get the very athletic, smart point of view, but in JROTC, it's a whole different group of people, and it makes you a whole different person being with them. And I really like the staff. I like our staff. I like who we are being led by. I like Master Sergeant and Colonel and how they're just different people and they treat you like individuals. You're not just a kid sitting in a classroom. You're a cadet to them. You're something different. I have a sense of camaraderie with everybody in JROTC. I look at them in uniform. I'm like, oh, you guys look great. I look great. I feel better because of that. I really had a lot of great experiences in JROTC, like JCLC, but I was in pictures and up there. Every time I look at those pictures, I smile because I got to meet other cadets from other schools that are going through the same things in JROTC that I am, and other people that are really great at drill and things I can be with them about. And I made a ton of friends. I got a bunch of Snapchats from them, and I still talk to them to this day. And drill comps and radar comps and color guard, when we won in color guard against Springfield, I will never forget that. That made me so happy. And being there with them makes me so happy. And we get to do a ton of out-of-school activities. Like, we get to do color guards at a baseball game. We got to go to Sky Zone after and do flips on the trampolines, which was awesome. And I really am looking forward to maybe getting a scholarship from JRTC. Like, I've already been noticed and looked at, and I'm only a sophomore. And Master Sergeant and Colonel are telling me all these opportunities I can have through JRTC to be an ROTC or to go to a really expensive college for free. And that really sounds like a good opportunity to me. So JRTC has really helped me out, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Questions from the board?
How many?
No, they didn't. I'm
It
sorry.
doesn't
They
seem-
didn't ask. Any questions from the board members? I'm sorry.
It doesn't seem to me like there's is there any other schools in our league that have GROTC?
None in our league, sir. There's only 23 Army programs in the state of Ohio. The closest one is Marion. They just picked up a program about 4 years ago, I believe it was. Prior to that, Zanesville was the most recent in the state, and they were just, I think, 3 years ago. When we travel to competitions, they mentioned, like Sadie mentioned, going to Brigade and different teams that they compete against. When we go to Brigade, we're competing against a 5-state area. So there isn't a such thing as a league championship or state championship. When we're competing for a championship, we're competing against all the and Tennessee has 114 programs, I think it is. Kentucky has right at 100. Indiana and Michigan both have about the same number of us. I think Michigan's just above us, Indiana just below us, something like that. But overall, when we compete in a brigade, we're competing against Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and the state up north. I'll say that during. But so when they compete, that's the level they're competing against. And when she mentions like the color guard, if I can expand on that just for a quick moment, Springfield they talk about a lot. Springfield is a school that we're probably the closest to as far as demographics and socioeconomics and everything else. And so whenever we go someplace, when we go to JCLC, that's all 23 programs in the state of Ohio at that summer camp. And there'll be about 200 to 250 kids there. We get to take the best of our best and go up there, and it's a cadet leadership challenge. And they'll take these kids and they throw them all together. And so they'll work in a team with kids from 22 other schools that they've never met before, and by the end of the week, they're doing competitions together to compete, Alpha against Bravo against Charlie, with kids that they've only known for a couple of days. And to see that growth in kids in a short amount of time is amazing. When they went to that brigade, or the competition they were talking about with the color guard, you had Springfield High School, which is 6-time national champions in drill. Marmion Academy, current national champions, and they have, I think, 3 past national championships at drill. Concordia Lutheran, past national champions at drill. Fern Creek, past national champions at drill on the Marine Corps side. They were a Marine Corps school that actually showed up there. They're out of Louisville, Kentucky. Marmion's out of Aurora, Illinois. West Aurora High School, an Air Force school out of, again, Aurora, Illinois. So we're competing with schools from all over the place. At that competition, there were 7 schools, 9 teams. 2 of the schools brought 2 teams, and we came in 3rd against that level of competition, and that was with 2 freshmen and 2 juniors on my color guard. I mean, when I've got freshmen that are competing at that level, I don't know if you've heard, you guys approved my resignation midway through last year, and after that, a couple of other things. Mr. Thrush asked me if I'd be willing to come back, and when you've got cadets performing like that at that level, I'm the drill team coach. It makes it a lot easier to come back for 1 or 2 more years. So my wife says 2. We'll see. I'm sorry?
Is there any requirements to be an ROTC? And I mean,
yes, to be an instructor, you have to be retired.
no, not instructor, just for the kids to.
No. We
So
take
anybody
across
can
the
join,
board.
right.
Anybody, yes, sir. We want the program to be a cross-section of the school. So I have everything from Sadie Larrabee, the gold cord on her shoulder represents a 3.8 or higher GPA. I've got everything from that level in National Honor Society kids to kids on IEPs. I've even had kids out of Mr. McCullough's MH class in there. We want to be a cross-section of the school. We're not exclusive. So that's one of the things that Cadet Larrabee was talking about, sir, is you know, it's not just the jocks. It's not that we are a cross-section of the school, and we welcome anybody and everybody into the program equally.
Well-
That's one of our goals.
I've said this for years. It just blows my mind that other schools in our league do not have this program, because I think it's one of the greatest programs in our school system.
Absolutely.
Just because of what it teaches, it's all-inclusive. I mean, you may not be able to sing, you may not be able to act, you may not be able to play sports, you may not be able to do an instrument, but if you really want to be a part of something, this is a
Absolutely.
great program, I think.
Absolutely.
You guys
And
should be
that's
commended.
That's what we strive for, and we appreciate that. We have had, over the years, I'll tell you what, personally, for a second, I got to say that I love, when we go to JCLC, I love hearing the other 22 programs around the state complain about how they don't get support from their district. I've never, in 14, this is my 15th year, had a problem. If I need to take kids to go to an event, to be able to showcase what they do, we've been to the Ohio, everything from a Cleveland Cavaliers game to do a color guard to the Ohio Association of School Administrators. And, you know, it's just every chance we get to showcase our kids and what they're able to do, we'll take advantage of that. State basketball tournaments, you name it. And I've always had phenomenal support with that. Going to drill competitions, we go to brigade. That's an overnight trip for us. We generally leave Friday after lunch. But my kids know, the cadets know, that they have to be passing all their classes, no missing assignments before they can go. And we've always been able to do that. So we appreciate that. And the support that we've gotten from the board has been phenomenal throughout my tenure. And I appreciate that.
I love it. I do have one question for each one of you guys. Tell me the most challenging thing that you've had to overcome in your experience here.
Definitely the uniform. Wearing the uniform every week is kind of daunting. It's like, oh, I really don't feel like wearing my uniform this week, but I'm going to do it because I'm disciplined and I earned everything on this uniform.
Awesome. Cadet Canode?
The uniform was a challenge to get into, but then from the uniform going into drill, because we have flanks where everyone turns, or you have columns where you turn at the same location.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you both for coming today.
What are the leadership positions? How many
Okay, yes,
positions
ma'am.
do you
So we have,
Yeah.
so the interesting thing about JRTC is the classes are taught by Colonel and myself, but everything outside the classroom is completely cadet-led. So our battalion commander's Patrick, so he comes up, you know, he kind of drives the vision, the view of what the Corps is going to do. We then have an S1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. He has an executive officer that's over the staff. The staff is administrative officer, security officer, plans and operations. S4 is logistics. S5 is public affairs. S6 is special action. So anything specific that Colonel Fournier or myself want them to do. So they do all the planning. They write up the op orders, but at the bottom of everything, there's a place for Colonel and I. It's not official. They can't assign anything to a student. They can't direct a student to do anything. But once they come up with the plan, Colonel and I look over. Once we initial it, then that's what they go forth and do. So we teach the class, but everything outside the class, even in things as simple as putting the flags up in front of the school. We have a cadet sergeant major who, at the beginning of the month, he comes up, he does a roster each day of the week. Before school, after school, by name, who's supposed to be there and when. And then he has to balance that out. Before I sign it, I make sure that like one student doesn't have it 6 times and another student once. I want to see that there's equity. He has to, when he's doing that, he also has to plan out, okay, who rides bus? They can't do after school. They have to do before school. Who's in sports? Let's try to put them before school. So they learn to do that level of planning and organization and stuff and work together. Another key thing with that, and then I promise I'll shut up, they're taught that if they have a conflict, if they can't be there, their first step isn't to tell me, isn't to tell staff. Their first thing is find somebody to take their place. Then notify somebody. So that when they notify somebody, they say, hey, I can't be there, but Cadet Larrabee's taking my place. Or, hey, I can't be there, but Cadet Canode's going to take my place. So we're trying to teach them, again, those life lessons of, at the same time you're bringing me a problem, I've already got a solution for you. You know, those are the little life lessons, things like that, you know, most of them don't get. But as you all well know from working out in the world, that's a huge lesson when they can learn that and then take that forward. So that's just a small piece of what we do. All right.
We'll end with a quick fun one. I asked you the most challenging thing. What about the most fun? What was the most fun thing that you've had the opportunity to do? Okay.
The builds coming out here among us, and as Master Sergeant has said, we go face other teams, and then we host our own. So when we host our own meet, we have people talking to every team, and it just has us reach out and meet people we probably never met in our lives.
Awesome.
Mine's
Cadet Larrabee?
definitely JCLC, because it's our teams times 100. Like, I get to meet people all over the state, and like, there's 2 or 3 other people from my school that get to meet everybody else too, and I made so many new friends, and I got to learn so many new experiences, and go through so many things with people I just met, and that was really a thrill for me.
Awesome. Thank you. I would have thought it would have been paintballing, hitting somebody with a paintball gun. But, you know, I love it too. So, again, thanks so much for coming, guys. I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Real quick, before you guys take off, if I get a picture over here real quick, board members, if you would slide over there.
There you go. Be in the picture.
One more, there's a blank spot right there. Yeah, it's because I'm short. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you. I'm good.
I didn't know we were the only school in the WBL.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's crazy. Yeah.
so what's funny is a lot of times you'll see a car guard come out before the ball game.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are
and
more
the
than welcome
opposing
to.
fans are like,
See you guys.
Thanks, guys, for coming. Appreciate
thanks
it
for
very
coming.
much.
It's like, what is this? And they have no idea because they've never seen it.
Okay, we will move on. Item 5, public participation. I didn't think anybody signed up. Okay, okay. All right, item 6. No, thanks, Ryan. We're good, buddy. We are good.
Probably the longest student showcase, I think we were, yeah.
Yeah, item 6, reports of the treasurer. Jill, you got anything you want to talk to us about?
Yes, I wanted to update you on where we're at with interest for our OFCC project. So since March through September, I will give you the breakdown of the interest of what we've earned. So for our LFIs, our local funded initiatives, about $40,750. Our local share is almost about $44,000. And then our state's very low because we just got a couple state receipts in the last 2 months. That's a little over $3,000. Those aren't as aggressive on the interest rates as the other 2 are. Again, because it's going to be more cyclical, where it's going to be coming more in and out quicker. So that's where we're at with interest.
Okay.
Is that a fixed rate or is it variable or?
On the state, it's a fixed rate, and then it kind of varies depending on the market with the other 2,
What?
with Red
Or
Tree.
what are they in? Do you know?
I
mean,
don't, that one I don't know, not with the Red Tree one. There's a whole bunch of investments that they've got going on,
Okay.
yeah.
Right now, it's probably money markets. and
That's why I don't know. That's
CDs,
what I was
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah, I
money
mean,
markets
safe,
and CD
obviously.
safe
It's-
stuff. So
Yeah,
that's what I would.
I assumed that, but I
anticipate.
didn't know what.
yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I think we probably, anything else? That was it, Jill.
That's it.
That was it?
Yep.
Okay, I guess we need a motion to accept that, please. Dick, thank you. A second?
Pencil.
Ledley. Thank you. Any other further discussion, questions for Jill? Okay, let's go ahead and move forward with a vote, please.
Mr. Hensel,
Yes.
Mrs. Heidinger,
Yes.
Mr. Ludley,
Yes.
Mr. Carmine.
Yes.
Mr. Dick.
Yes.
Okay, item 7, superintendent's report and communication.
Yep, just going to make it a short one. Just want to remind everybody that we're continuing to put new information on the website when it comes to construction updates. So there's a new floor plan that's on there. It's still changing. We're hoping to have it pretty well nailed down by Thursday this week because we're really ending the schematic design phase of the project, and we're going to be moving into design development. Which is really just now that we know where things are going to be located as far as what's going to be what next to what, how they run the electrical and what types of heating and air conditioning systems, that type of stuff is now going to have to be planned for that building. So we're hoping we're going to have some numbers back as far as estimates by the second week maybe of November, which will tell us, well, we know what it's going to tell us. We're going to have to bring it down and try to find some areas to maybe reduce some square footage, things like that, because we start with what we want, and then we got to work with what we can afford. So we realize that's coming, but we're pretty excited about the way it looks now, and we have welcomed folks to give us their input and feedback as to what that, how things are looking up to this point. I think we've gotten a lot of good at feedback and be able to make some nice adjustments. So we're excited about it. It's not finalized yet, but we're getting awfully close when it comes to the floor plan.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Chad. Item 8, board committee reports. First one listed, finance facilities. Did you guys get a chance to meet? No?
Nope.
Okay. Career Center, that's me. The biggest thing that we want to kind of talk about there a little bit, real quick, is they have actually finalized the construction project down there, which is amazing. And if you get a chance to visit, it's pretty special. The kids are actually in there already using the new labs, and the teachers, I guess, are loving it from the feedback that they're getting. So that's super cool to see. But like I said, if you get a chance to go down there, set something up to go down there and tour that facility. It's pretty nice. So that's exciting news for them. That's actually all I had on that one. Policy, did they get a chance to meet?
We did. I don't know if you guys want me to give a quick.
Just give it, I didn't print it out. I'm
Short one.
sorry.
Yep. So you're going to see quite a few policies in there. The thing to remember with policies is most of the time when a policy is being looked at, it's because something in law has changed, and so the policy of the school district needs to change with it. And that's not always the case, but most of the time that is the situation. So I'll try to run down through these very quickly and just give you a real quick summary here. So the first one has to do with weapons. There was a Senate Bill 215 as well as House Bill 99 that has changed some things within the law. So this policy would allow the board to authorize qualified individuals to be armed on school property. That's something that was in the newspaper about 3-4 weeks ago. So this policy would allow the board to do that, although it is not saying that it is going to be done. It just provides the opportunity for the board to do that. Preschool, modified definitions of preschool, general ed, and integrated classrooms to provide more flexibility in regards to the number of students with disabilities that can be enrolled in a preschool program. Career advising, it was based on Senate Bill 135. It basically just requires us to make sure that in high school we're talking to kids about affordability of college, not to just see the price tag and then freak out, but to say there are ways that you can afford that, especially if you can it's hard to convince students sometimes because they think, well, I didn't have a lot growing up, and so I'm not going to be able to go to college. And what we have to convince kids of, it's actually the opposite. If you didn't have a whole lot growing up, you probably will have a better chance of affording college. And so we need to make sure kids understand there are lots of opportunities out there to help pay for college. So that's part of the career advising. And then they also wanted to make sure that we're making kids aware of the industry credentials and certificates and things that they can receive even while it's still in high school. And as you guys know, we've got programs that allow kids to do that. District-sponsored clubs and interscholastic athletics. This had to do with Senate Bill 181. It just mainly says that we're not supposed to limit kids from wearing religious apparel unless it's going to pose a danger to themselves or other students while they're participating in whatever that might be, whether it's athletics or clubs. Employment of personnel and for co and extracurricular activities. The idea here is that if you don't have a teaching license, you have to get a pupil activity permit, even if that activity doesn't involve any physical risks or anything like that. Basically, the state just wants to keep tabs on who all is advising and being paid for coaching and things like that, regardless of whether it's for athletics or for Quiz Bowl, or you name it. Eligibility of non-resident and resident students. This one has to do with, and there's another one down in here, the same thing. The Secretary of State has a Safe at Home program where if you are concerned that somebody's going to get your information, especially your address, that kind of information, and you don't want that to happen, you can apply to the Secretary of State. They can give you a card. You show that to the school, and then you don't have to provide your actual address to the school. Just in case somebody were to request the directory information, which is public record, they can't get your address if that happens. So this just basically stated that it used to say that you would just tell them you're in the program, but they had some issues, so they said, no, you have to provide a copy of that to the school. So you'll see that one there, and then that's also down in personnel and student records. It has to do with that Safe at Home program. Care of students with chronic health conditions and diabetes, that's out of House Bill 231, mainly just glucagon and medication management. We're very fortunate to have clinics in all of our buildings, so that helps us a lot when it comes to that policy. It just allows us to make sure that people are properly trained when they're dispensing medications. Diploma deferral, this one basically says that if you have a student on an IEP that defers their graduation because they want to maybe continue at like a high point, they still can be awarded that diploma even if they don't finish that last year, because originally, you know, they met the requirements, they were just choosing to defer the diploma. This states that they can still go back and receive that diploma even if they don't finish the fifth year of transition IEP-related goals. Fair Labor Standards Act. Oh, I was hoping one of you guys are going to have to do this one. Okay. This one has to do with providing a private space for lactation purposes. And so we basically said we will give teachers and administrators the same rights that all of our classified folks do, which is to have a private space and time to be able to take care of those needs. All right. Facility security, we can use metal detectors to find things such as vapes, is basically what this is stating. And it's, yeah, they just needed to clarify that. Small unmanned aircraft, talking about drones here, there are new federal regulations that we had to basically match up with for operation of drones on school property at night or over a crowd of people. And a lot of it has to do with classifications of drones and licensing and that kind of stuff. School calendar, this one's kind of funny because they are saying, hey, you can now approve a calendar for more than 1 year. School's been doing that for a long time. So it's just the policy's finally caught up with reality, and it allows you to approve a 2-year calendar instead of just 1 year at a time. Last thing is transportation. House Bill 110 requires early notification requirements if a school is not going to transport a student that it did not legally have to. So we were actually doing that last year. We were helping to transport some students to Bell Fountain, even though we weren't legally required to. When we realized we couldn't continue to do that, this makes sure that, and we did this, you notify them in plenty of advance time. So we had notified those families in June. They just don't want that happening in September when school started. Now they got to figure out how they're going to get their kids to school. So, whew. All right, those are all the policies. It's a very summarized version. Yeah, thanks.
What about curriculum and instruction? Did they meet?
Yeah, I've
Brandon's
got
got
a
that
few things here. So just a few things that I wanted to speak about. So they introduced a new science curriculum. It's Science Fusion, and it was introduced this year. It's for grades 5 through 8, and from what I understand, it like progresses with each grade. That curriculum does. And so far, they've had good feedback from that and positive feedback from that curriculum. So the other piece that I want to talk about here is the Kenton City Schools One Plan. It's a 3-year plan with what I would consider to be like 3 areas of focus. The first area is safe and healthy schools for culture and climate. The second area would be focused on English language arts achievement, and the third area would be focusing on mathematics achievement. And then from what I gathered, like each focus area is then further broken down with a SMART goal attached to those focus areas. And then within each one of those three focus areas, there's strategies to help support the improvement for students and growth in each of those areas. And then I think the other biggest piece that we probably spoke about was like the renewal of the curriculums coming up this year. Probably the biggest one being the renewal of the English Language Arts, ELA, the K through 12 curriculum. That one will probably be the one with the biggest expense, but I think it encompasses a lot of curriculum within that. So, and I think once they do renew that, it's for 6 years, I believe. And then along with that renewal of the ELA curriculum, there's a handful of others, but I think that was probably the biggest one. So that's basically all I had.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. Item 9, old business. I don't think we have any old business to take care of this evening, so we'll move on to new business. Item 10. Looks like we just got a lot of personnel items. Some medical leave, some substitutions. It looks like Mr. Downey's resigning again. After we welcomed him back for science, I think.
Agreed to come back for 1 year
He came
for
back
us.
for 1 year. And
He's holding to it.
He's gonna go back to
Yeah, exactly. Looks like some contract for some employees for the powerlifting, weight training, assistant wrestling. Oh yeah, that's one of the things
Some
coming up.
alumni
Isn't it?
there.
Yeah, absolutely. That time of the year. Okay. Yep. All that actually ends the personnel items. I need a motion to accept, please.
Hensel?
Thank you, Rodney. A second.
Heidinger?
Thanks, Tasha. Appreciate it. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move for a vote.
Mr. Ledley?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Hensel?
Yes.
Mrs. Heidinger?
Yes.
Item 11, authorization resolutions. Looks like we just got some more agreements with the Midwest Regional ESC, kind of renewal that we have to do those every year, I believe.
Yeah, and there's a couple there that are employees that they're hired through for now while they're getting their licensure. We had talked at the beginning of the year where we had to hire some folks that didn't have their licensure quite yet. The ESC is able to actually bring them on as floating subs. So when you see floating subs, that's what that's talking about until they receive their licensure, and then we can hire them from there.
And then we can hire. Okay. Looks 11C there, a lot of donations. Thank you for everyone that donated. We appreciate that. And there's a lot listed there, so awesome. 11D, policy changes that I think Chad was referring to earlier. And some updated on some guidelines that you also mentioned. Speech therapists. YMCA is being gracious to let us use the pool again. Awesome. And a couple agreements with some business, and then changing the prices a little bit of the a la carte items.
And that one was required. There's some things that we have choice on, and there's some things the state says you have to do. So we had to bump the price on that.
Okay. Could I have a motion to accept on item 11?
Ledley.
Lovely, thank you. A second? Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. Any other questions or clarification needed?
What's the 11I? The
All the two-
Certificate of Estimated Resources.
That's when we transferred the money. I just needed to appropriate it into
Okay.
that fund.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
Anything else? If not, we'll move forward for a vote.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Hensel?
Yes.
Mrs. Heidinger?
Yes.
Mr. Ledley?
Yes.
Okay, with that, we are at item 12, adjournment. It is 7:50. The next regular board meeting will be held on November 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m.